let's talk a little bit about some of the ways that you can use some of the Kyberlight top pieces or emitter pieces as a lightsaber stand or as a way to display your lightsaber hilt. So for this example, I'm using the Plasmafier top piece and the Arbiter top piece. And the reason I've selected these two pieces is because they have a really nice surface area on the top, and that will help stabilize the lightsaber. And so you'll see how that works out in just a second. So one of the easiest ways you could store your lightsaber using these pieces is just by keeping the emitter piece attached and then just kind of put it on your table or on your shelf. Now, one of the downsides of this method is it does take up quite a bit of vertical space, so maybe your shelf wouldn't be tall enough to do that. Another downside is it's somewhat stable, but it's not like super stable, so I could kind of tip this over relatively easily. If it gets bumped into, or if you, I don't know, live somewhere with earthquakes, you maybe wouldn't want to do that. But it's kind of a quick and easy way to do that, or if you're just kind of putting it on the floor somewhere, that might be okay for you, but just consider some of the other ramifications. Now, another thing you can do is you can take both of these emitter pieces and you can just put your Kyberlight hilt on the pieces like that. And so how this works is I have a Nova pommel installed on the hilt right now, and this Nova pommel kind of has these grooves to it that nest really well in this emitter piece. So even though this side isn't particularly stable, there's, because it's cylindrical and it could slide around a bit, this stable end will really kind of lock it in pretty well, and this way is much more stable than that first way, that first more vertical way of storing the lightsaber. And there are a variety of pommels by Kyberlight that you could install that would really lend itself to this storage method. So here is the Pulsar. That also nests very well in here. And here is the Hyper Burst. That one also fits pretty well in there. A third way that you could store your Kyberlight lightsaber with these emitter pieces is, well, just take away one of them, one of the emitter pieces, top pieces, and just use the same method and just instead using one piece like that. Same goes with some of these other pommels working pretty well. And yeah, the only difference is it's kind of at an angle, and I don't know, maybe you don't have another emitter piece like this available. And now this kind of leads to the final way you could easily store your Kyberlight lightsaber, and this is the no stand way. And so I know that's kind of a cop-out, right? But I just wanted to remind you guys that some of these pommels will do a pretty nice job of kind of stabilizing your lightsaber hilt on a surface. So Nova is a great example of that. The grooves will kind of keep it from rolling around. Now, this is an example where the Pulsar would not be as good. That would likely allow your lightsaber hilt to kind of roll around much more easily than you might like, but it still might be okay. But some of the nice pommels that'll give you a little more stability would be Hyperburst, it would be Nova, which I've shown you already. Kilonova would also be pretty good for that job. And I think there's one more. I forget what one more would be. Oh, Dark Flare. Dark Flare would also keep the hilt in place pretty well. But another thing you want to consider is some of these pommels have kind of some edges to it, so you want to make sure that it doesn't damage, scratch whatever surface you have. So that would be kind of a reason to not use at least some of these pommel pieces on your table or on your shelf. But those are some options for you, just if you want to repurpose some of your Kyberlight pieces into a lightsaber stand.